Pray, try, me your Savior, no. See if there be some wicked ways in me. Cleanse me from every sin and set me free. Oh, if you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and you leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must turn the searchlight inward. If you want to make it into heaven, my friend, live right and serve the Lord. Oh, if you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and you leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must turn the searchlight inward. If you want to make it into heaven, my friend, live right and serve the Lord. Oh, if you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and you leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you better turn the searchlight inward. And if you want to make it into heaven, my friend, live right and serve the Lord. Search me, oh God, and know my heart. Yes. Try me, oh Savior, know my thoughts, I pray. See if there be some wicked ways in me. Oh, cleanse me from every sin and set me free. If you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must turn the searchlight inward. And if you want to make it into heaven, my friend, live right and serve the Lord. Oh, if you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and you leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must turn the searchlight inward. If you want to make it into heaven, my friend, live right and serve the Lord. I want to live right. I want to walk right. I want to live right. Live right. Walk right. Walk right. Live right. Talk right. Walk right. Live right. Live right. Tell every preacher man. Walk right. Tell every preacher man. Live right. Live right. Walk right. Walk right. Live right. You want to make it in. Walk right. Live right. Live right. Come on, preacher man. Walk right. Come now, preacher man. Live right. Live right. Walk right. Walk right. Live right. Talk right. Walk right. Do the will of God. Live right. Do the will of God. Walk right. Do the will of God. Live right. Do the will of God. Walk right. Live right, my Lord. Live right. Walk right, my Lord. Walk right. Talk right, my Lord. Live right. Come on, preacher man. Walk right. If you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must turn the searchlight inward. If you want to make it into heaven, my friend, What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and grace to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. To thy friend, despise forsake me, take it to the Lord in prayer. In his arms he'll take and shield me down. We'll find us so I must have that Savior with me, for I not walk alone. I must be his presence near me, and his arms around me thrown. Then my soul shall fear no need. Let him lead me where he will. I will go without a murmur, and his footsteps follows me. Then my soul shall fear no need. Oh, let him lead me where he will. I will go without a murmur, and his footsteps follows me.
And a good night to Grenada, Carriacou, and Primatnik. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name's Sheldon Scott, here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour, saying a special good night to all of you joining us via 91.9 Real FM. Good night to you, Mr. Andre Donald. Good night to your lovely staff. And all of the beautiful listeners to 91.9 FM.
The star and the cross of redemption.
Let me say a special good night to all the listeners via We Noise Radio. They've been with us quite a few years now, you know. I'm sure they make 10 years already. Good night to you, Wade.
To the end of my journey.
And good night to all the listeners on the YouTube and the Facebook. We'll be joined tonight by Senator the Honorable Senator Cox. He had an excellent presentation in the Senate last week in relation to the 2025 estimates of revenue and expenditures. We just say the budget, yeah. I just want to go over some aspects of that tonight, yeah. And indeed, of course, we've got to remind you of several things. Yeah, we've got to remind you. And first of all, we got to remind you of young Kelvin. You remember 2-year-old Kelvin Warren Thomas needs your help. He's presently afflicted with leukemia, and his loving family are trying to get him out to have some treatment done. To ensure you can contact his parents at 420-4314-535-2110. If you're in town, you can donate at Cashwiz, at the Dropbox at Cashwiz. You can also use the GoToFet app, and yes, you can donate via GoToFet. It is safe and secure. And you can also donate directly. Yeah, you're passing in Co-op Bank, tell them what, put a little something over for the little boy for me. Yeah, over in the account of Wesley Natoya Warren, and that's account number 321-005987. So again, 321-005987. That's the account of Wesley Natoya Warren. So again, they're trying to get him out of the island so that he could receive that treatment. Yeah, nice, beautiful. And I know the loving people that you all are. Whether it's 50 cents, you will give. You will try to help, yeah? So the New National Party St. Patrick East Constituency Branch, they've got their barbecue fundraiser taking place this Saturday at the River Salihad Court, starting at midday and going up until at least 10 p.m. Barbecue chicken, barbecue pork, and grilled fish on sale, and coming with sides of potato salad, chow mein, rice and peas, and indeed they've got an ice cold bar waiting on you. For more information, you can contact 533-8797 or 415-8008. All right, so that's for more information. Remember, the St. Patrick East Constituency Branch of the New National Party having that barbecue fundraiser taking place this Saturday, yeah?
You will suffer like David did. Jesus on the telephone, tell him what he needs.
The New National Party New York Support Group, they've got their brunch taking place. That's coming up on the 27th of April. West Indian food, music, dance, meet, mingle, starting from 10 a.m. until you say when. Right? So you're ramming out the place. That's taking place at 302 East 91st Street between Lenox and Clarkson Avenue for a small donation of $30. Music by DJs Jude and Small Clothes. And for more information, you can contact Kathy at 347-262-6818. Wendy at 917-60-1476, and Aisha at 917-520-3164. So remember, that's the New National Party New York Support Group. They are having that barbecue fundraiser, and that will be taking, not barbecue fundraiser, I'm saying brunch, taking place on the 27th of April. Remember the free eye clinic. That is coming up. You have your problem with your eyes. You need to get them checked. Don't miss the opportunity, right? So that's taking place at the Gov Polyclinic between the 14th and 15th. So both days, starting at 9 a.m., completed at 5 p.m. And on the 16th and 17th at the Grenada Youth Center, on the 16th between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and finishing earlier on the 17th, 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. Because they say 9 a.m., don't try to reach day 9 and 10 and thing, go a little early. Because some people go there and then they meet a line, they say, oh gosh, too much people, and they leave it and so, all right? So I want to make sure everybody they're giving free eye exams, free eye care medications as needed, free reading and sunglasses as needed. They're doing cataract surgeries. But for those of you that have already been found to have cataracts, you need to contact your doctor, and they will ensure that when this is taking place, you can get the surgery done. Other than that, you may find yourself in problems. Yeah, you may find yourself with that cataract going later down the line. You have to try and get that dealt with right now, yeah, as much as possible. Nice, yeah. Good night to you, Daria. Yes, I saw your message. New National Party Carriacou and Petit Martinique chapter. Yeah, the New York chapter of the New National Party Carriacou and Petit Martinique. They are having their spring brunch. So that's going to be taking place on Sunday, April the 13th. And it starts from 1 p.m. All right, that's at 302 East 91st Street between Lennox and Clarkson. Music by DJ Gemini Songs. And of course, a price $30. Menu: fried fish, chicken, pork, cuckoo, roll rice, macaroni pie, and more Sriracha style food. Carriacou style in all the tail. Nice. For more tickets, contact Jacinta at 917-615-4918. Wilson at 917-754-1319. Nisha at 347-683-1997. And Carlos at 718-813-6722. All right, so that is the New National Party Carriacou and Petit Martinique New York support group. They are having their annual brunch, and that's taking place on Sunday, the 13th of April. And let me see what else I have there. Yeah, this weekend, it's going to be taking place at the New National Party headquarters. You're going to be having and I'm looking for it here. Where's that flyer? Come here, flyer. Nice. Yes, the after work lime of the New National Party is going to be taking place this Friday. I know a lot of you want to come on out to that one. Yeah, make sure all you come out and thing right. Let me just make it, yeah, nice. Let me see if I can fix it. Nice. Right, so that's the after work lime of the New National Party taking place this Friday, starting from 4 p.m. And of course, you don't have to pay to enter. It's free thing. You come in, but you have to buy your food and drinks. All right, food and drinks on sale, but you're coming in. Nice, right. So there's a nice barbecue and waters and all kind of thing that's be there, and you have drinks on sale. A multiplicity of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages to quench your thirst. All right, and that's taking place at the New National Party headquarters in Tempe. And yeah, as I said, food and drinks on sale. That's taking place from 4 p.m. this Friday. So from 4 p.m., looking forward to seeing you all there. Yes, I will be there this time, God's willing. All right, nice. Folks, in a short while, we'll be speaking with Senator the Honorable Norland Cox. Let me just check in, make sure everything's setting up proper and so. So when we go in, eh? So we know that there's one place to be on Friday, and that's at the New National Party headquarters.
Do nobody carry your soul, yeah. 'Cause if you preach like Paul and not live the word, you will suffer like diabetes. Hey Christian, nobody carry. Do nobody carry your soul well. 'Cause if you love go to church and not live the life, you will suffer like diabetes. Hey cinnamon, do nobody carry. Do nobody carry your soul well. If you're not go to church and not.
And last night, folks, yesterday we were discussing the fact that Grenada, as well as the rest of the Caribbean, is facing a very, very significant and potentially dangerous situation when it comes to the moves being made by the present U.S. administration to place significant charges, port fees on any Chinese-made vessel entering or leaving the United States. So once the vessels come over, and as you may know, the device that you're listening to this program on, if it's not made in China, it more than likely has components, in other words, parts that were made in China, or the machines that were used to make them were made in China. It means that boats that are entering into U.S. ports, I think it's 1.5 million US that they would have to pay now, and it is going to significantly affect the cost of living in the Caribbean region. Yeah, it is significantly going to affect that. We are going to have a situation where Grenadians and all the other islands will have to find additional monies to pay for things. If you look around your house, there's hardly anything inside your home right now that didn't come out from China. Hardly anything. From your utensils, your dishes and so on, to your electronics, your refrigerator, etc., your washing machines and these things, and from your computers, your mobile devices, your tablets. Most of these things are made in China, some of them by US companies who have factories that they work with over in China that make these things and then send them over to the United States via these same vessels. Now, the companies that are making them, the factories that are making them, the companies that are importing them, they will not absorb the cost. They are going to pass the cost on to the consumer. And we have a situation where the vessels that are coming, a good over half of the vessels that are coming here into Grenada, they are Chinese made. The Chinese have a very, very lively shipbuilding industry. So unless China is going to establish a front base somewhere in the Caribbean region and ship items directly there instead of to the US, and then we get it, and then you're studying the volume. You have to look at the volume of trade that is done with the Caribbean. China may not find it economically feasible to have a vessel leave China with stuff just for Grenada or just for the region, the OECS. Because while they may sell 10,000 of an item here, they may be sending 10 million to the United States, which can cover the cost of the journey to bring those things there. So it is not necessarily that China may decide that they're going to take the hit and send the items directly to the region. But at least by this point in time, with business people becoming so afraid, business people are seriously concerned with what is going on right now with this, the possibilities that can happen in this. It will directly affect the cost of doing business. Yeah? It could be Bryden and Miners, it could be Huggins, could be Sissons Paints. All of the businesses, a lot of the stuff that they import comes from China, or the equipment used to create what they import, whether it is created in South America or Central America or North America, the equipment used to create it, even in Trinidad, those equipments, those factory components are made in China. The repair parts, they come from China. So it is going to create a situation where we have serious inflation throughout the Caribbean. Medicines, which already for the entire of last year, we've been seeing significant increases in the cost of medicine. You know what you were paying for certain medicines in 2022. You saw what it got to in 2023. Then you saw the continued increase in 2024 and now in 2025. And it's poised now because I'm hearing figures as high as 60% and all sorts of things that we may be seeing when it comes to some of these things. Increases as much as 60% cost increase in cost in some of these items. So we have to be aware of what is taking place, and we have to be ready to be able to deal with it. But again, we ask the question, who is negotiating on behalf of the state of Grenada? Who is the person, or who are the persons that we have out there who are representing our interests and speaking on behalf of the Grenadian people, speaking on behalf of the Grenadian businessmen? Because when we look at the batting order of the present administration, it is woefully inept. It leaves a lot to be desired. So we have to be seriously concerned about the possibilities of what Grenada may end up having to face in the very near future. Now, I mentioned his name last night, and lo and behold, in the Jamaica Observer newspaper, I've seen an article put out where they are referencing Dr. Patrick Antwine. Yes, a son of the Grenadian soil, Dr. Patrick Antwine. And he was speaking on this particular issue and the urgency of addressing this issue. Remember, so far, your government has said nothing. Your government has not addressed this particular issue. They have said nothing on it. But we have a situation where we ought to be seriously concerned. And I'll just read quickly the article that has been put out in relation to their interview with Dr. Patrick Antwine by the Caribbean Media Corporation. And it says, President of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, private sector organization, Dr. Patrick Antwine, says the decision by the United States to impose a port fee of $1 million US per port call on any Chinese-built vessels calling at U.S. ports will be devastating for CARICOM countries. Remember, that's $1 million each time the boat goes there. This action by Washington is designed to punish Chinese shipbuilders and promote U.S. shipbuilding. But Caribbean countries, among others, have told the United States Trade Representative that the measure would hurt economies that depend on U.S. trade. Antwine, in his request to appear before the United States Trade Representative public hearings on the proposal in Washington, D.C., said that the fees would lead to astronomical levels of the increased cost of goods being moved out of U.S. ports into the Caribbean. Yeah, the Americans not going to pay that. They're going to pass that cost on to you. So express cost things, medication, common household items. Yeah, all of these things can be increased by as much as 60%, even some food stuff. But yes, the food stuff may not be coming out of China, but the components that are used in making the food stuff or bottling the food stuff or bagging the food stuff. You see ketchup these days, excuse me, you see ketchup these days coming in the packets. And you may very well find that these packets may be made coming out of China by the millions. So the cost of the ketchup may increase because the packets that are making them is made in China. Even though the ketchup may be bagged in the Caribbean or bagged in North America, but the bags that they are placed in, the seals that are placed on it, the equipment that is bagging it is made in China. Yeah, so let's get back to the article. And it says, indeed, the social and economic ramifications of any such measures by the United States is unthinkable. Antwine said, adding that the CPSO, remember that's the Caribbean, let me just make sure the correct pronunciation for it. The Caribbean Community Private Sector Organization, or CPSO, right? The CPSO recognizes the immediate jeopardy which any measure as may be under consideration by the United States will hold for CARICOM member states such as Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and even Suriname, among others, where well over 50% of the ships plying these routes are Chinese constructed. The public hearings are to continue tomorrow, Wednesday, and Antwine said that if afforded the opportunity to give testimony at the hearing, the CARICOM private sector organizations will present evidence on the significant economic impact of the proposed measure, which will also bring damage to U.S. firms with operations in the Caribbean. He said that some of the analysis done by his organization indicates that these new fees could lead to a 60% increase in shipping costs to and from the Caribbean region. So who you think that 60% shipping cost, my friends, is going to be passed on to? It's going to be passed on to you and me. The Caribbean Ship Owners Association, CSO, has also urged the U.S. to rethink the policy, saying that passing these new fees on to consumers would have devastating effects. The customers of the CSO members are not in any position to absorb increases of 38% in the cost of the same transportation they receive today. They would need to pass that cost on to their consumers or cease exporting. If these cease exporting, that would mean a loss of jobs in the United States and even higher costs for those customers that continue to export. Yeah? And to end, he said an analysis has been done, and we have been advised that shipping a container would increase by $3,000 to $4,000 US. Brown said, adding, now if nothing happens, if that happens, you are talking about an increase in prices of between 8 and 10% easily, which would be extremely inflationary at this time, considering that there's already an elevated rate of inflation of 4.5% at the moment. This means that inflation, or the general cost of goods, could trend upward 12 to 14%, he added. So we're looking at a serious problem. And while we are looking at a serious problem like that, we are not hearing from the government of Grenada. A thing like this, you would expect, for instance, that the permanent secretary would come out and explain this particular issue, explain it to the Grenadian people, say, hey, this is a possibility. This is what your government or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would say this is what they're doing. But folks, it's 8:30 and I want to get Senator Cox on. Let me see if I can find Senator Cox. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. You hear me?
Yes, man. We're hearing you loud and clear, man.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Absolutely. We're hearing you, but we ain't seen you. So,
let me see if I could do something about that.
Yeah, man. You have to do something about that, man. I mean, the people want to see you now.
Yeah.
You know, Southside looking to see Senator the Honorable, and you're on now. So, Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, I'm doing okay. And just grateful for everything and just happy to be here on the program here tonight.
And how is Carriacou?
Of course. Carriacou, we getting there. This is dry season, but we there. Persons are doing what they have to and pressing on and trying to get on with things as best as we can. But we're there. We're doing okay.
Okay. Before we go any further, I want to congratulate you on an excellent Senate presentation last week. I haven't spent time in the Senate with you, so I know you from the time you start presenting on budget in the Senate. Yeah. And I must say, you have always been excellent, but this time you were excellent. And we want to congratulate you.
Just to recall, the first time I presented in the Senate, the budget was like, I came in the Senate like about 3 days or so before my first presentation. Yeah, 2014. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Indeed, we were very pleased with the way that you dealt with the issues. And I know it came towards the end of your presentation. And I think you saved the best for last as well when you dealt with the issues that the people of Petit Martinique, not just Carriacou and Petit Martinique, but the people you homed in on the issues that the people of Petit Martinique are going through. And I think that was very, very informative.
Yeah, and I feel strongly about their situation. I think it's rather unique, for want of a better word, in that they seem to have gotten the worst of this disaster, in the sense that not just they have the extensive damage from the hurricane, but in terms of the recovery effort, in terms of the support for persons in Petit Martinique, it has not been on par as with Carriacou and other places. So in that context, that is why I say that you hear how much houses in Carriacou. Petit Martinique was way behind in months afterwards before. And so those are some of the context why I believe that they have had the worst of the recovery effort. And that is why I took some time off to deal with the issues that they raise. And those are issues that they raise themselves. It's not something that I just pulled off the top of my head and spoke about, but those are things that matters to them the most at this point in time.
Indeed. And I know many of them, they were very happy that you did speak on their behalf in relation to these issues. You mentioned earlier that Carriacou and Petit Martinique, it's the dry season. What is the present status in Carriacou and Petit Martinique at this time? I know a lot of folks here on the mainland are concerned. We know the traditional nature of water catchment and storage on the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And we also know that due to Hurricane Beryl, the traditional form cannot be used in many instances. There are people who may have gotten to a stage that they could do what they have to do, but in many instances that is not so. We're into the dry period. What is taking place regarding water in Carriacou, Petit Martinique? I know there's the desalination plant. I don't know what is the status. What is the situation right now?
Well, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's a crisis situation, but I would say that it is one that can develop into a crisis situation if the dry season prolongs or goes beyond the normal time frame, which it does from time to time over the past years. We have seen that. I think we have seen in recent times, we haven't got any significant rains until like September and November. So that is a concern for us. We are very hopeful that rain can fall as early as Corpus Christi, like June, July. We can start seeing, heavy precipitation that at least mimics what the rainy season looked like.
Mm-hmm.
However, while we want the rain to fall, the challenge still remains that the level or percentage of roofs that we have catchments are way below the normal levels. So no amount of rain will really avoid the challenge in terms of how much water we can catch in comparison to before burial. There's definitely less roof, so obviously our capacity to collect water pre-burial is going to be less. In comparison to pre-burial, it's going to be less now because we have less catchments, point blank. And that is the reason why this dry season and even the next dry season is going to be very, very critical for us until we get those roof stock back up and running as it was before burial. Before burial, now also was being challenged with the demand for water. So I am quite certain that the situation has not changed, but probably has gotten a little bit more worse in terms of the demand for water. They were rationing water for the public, and I still believe that is going to happen going forward until things settle down. But persons do have challenge for water. A lot of people do have challenge for water. Even before the hurricane season start, people have challenge for water. Truckmen been drugging water, like right through.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the new dispensation in terms of water situation. You have also a number of construction work taking place, of course. That is additional pressure in terms of water. So some persons may truck water from the wells. Those water is a little bit hard, so it wouldn't be used for potable purposes, but use it for trucking and other things like that. So that in itself is a challenge. Where you have construction taking place, is additional construction with the rebuilding efforts. And you have persons, whenever you have festival activities, as we have Maroon coming up, there's anticipation to have more people on island visiting for the weekend. So you have those pressures, intermittent pressures in terms of the demand for water will go up during this period. What I've observed is that a number of persons are buying bottled water who can afford as well from the supermarket as an alternative. There is a private supplier who has a well, but it's a little bit more pricey than in comparison to Nawasa. So those are some of the issues and that surrounds currently what our water situation, the outlook looks like. But the main challenge and the fact exists is that our capacity to catch water pre-burial has significantly reduced. So whether we get rain or not, it has significantly reduced.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something also very important to note that before burial came, because burial was the second named storm for the season. Before burial came, that was the 1st of July. We hadn't had any significant rains at all before burial, which means that we came from a dry season without getting into the rainy season. Then the hurricane came and blew away the roofs. So water storage, water levels were already low pre-burial. So those tanks that were filled, fine, they have water, but there is no way of replenishing them, so water would come out and would not be able to go back. And those that are low, If they have roofs now, they would catch water. If not, they are going to be in a situation where the water levels are going to be low still. So that is the situation before us. One of the things about the issue of water in Carriacou, we are very much accustomed to it. So we make the necessary adjustments to compensate, maybe do things differently, find ways in which we can conserve water. Somebody told me, when we have dry season, you drink beers to conserve on water. So I don't know if that will work. It is still an expense.
That'll dehydrate you. That one will dehydrate you. Then
because nothing replace water. There is nothing to replace water. So that is the nature of the situation on the ground. I know that NASA is doing some public awareness now. I think sometime this week they have some consultation to speak about it, and they do have some additional projects to do, but those would not come on stream probably within the next year or so. So this is where we are. I recall in 2012, at that time, water had to be barged in to Carriacou. That'll tell you how it got really, really bad that time. And we had roofs on. Yeah? Mm-hmm. All the roofs were on. And water had to be barged in because the dry season was prolonged. So that is the concern that I have. And that if we're to have a prolonged dry season, given our reduced water catchment capacity and water storage on island, we might be in for a rough one. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be a good opportunity for NASA to do the assessment, to look at the levels, to see what is there, to see how what measures they can put in place. Maybe they can start, or the government together with NASA can start looking at costs or likely barge that can bring water to Carriacou if so needed. So you can start looking at those things, putting a plan in place. Looking at costs, putting a budget, looking at it, and to see how, if there is a need, then you have something, all set and ready to go. So that person's in Carriacou and Pidimantnik. And Pidimantnik is still a little bit different because the plant over there is working okay. And Pidimantnik is 100% coverage in terms of water distribution network from the desal plant. So it helps a lot for Pidimantnik. But Carriacou is more heavily pressed in terms of that demand for water.
Let me ask as well, since we on the issue of water, when it comes to the farmers, like my good friend PPM and so on, those guys that do farming, heavy farming and heavy into agriculture, how are they managing? Because it's not like they have a river they could go to and say, well, I'm drawing water from the river or a stream or so. How are they?
Well, they normally truck water.
Mm-hmm.
They normally truck water. Yeah.
Wow.
They use a pickup and truck, or get a truck to bring water to the sites, the farm sites where they have the storage tanks. So that's what they will normally do. In some cases, I'm not sure I'm not certain if they can take from the ponds, because there is this, the agriculture department have this moratorium on taking water from the pond for certain purposes, but I think that is something that I have to look at.
Okay, so the farmers should be pretty okay. They do have access for now, because they're taking from the wells the same water that's being used for the construction.
They'll take from the wells. And they should be able to take from the ponds. I'm not certain what is the policy now, but if it's for farming purposes, they should be able to take from the ponds as well. They should be able to. But there are some trucks who wouldn't carry water from the pond in the tanks, because in turn they want to carry potable water. So sometimes they have to go for it for themselves with a pickup and other receptacles they have to use. So, but they should be able to take water from the pond for agriculture purposes, if my memory serves me right.
All right, and folks, we're speaking with Senator the Honorable Norland Cox, the New National Party representative out there in Carriacou, deputy political leader of the New National Party, member of the Senate, former Minister of Youth, former Minister of Sport, former Minister of, tell me the next one, was Works?
Culture, infrastructure, transport.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The man do a lot of things. So when he speaks with authority. Now, Senator Cox, we've been speaking about the water, and so I mentioned the agriculture. I do assume that some of the farmers are back up operating to a specific level, even if not the same level, at least up to a particular level now. Construction.
Yes, we do have. Just to quickly touch on the farmers. I think on Sunday I was in one of the farming community on Sunday. I was giving some assistance to a farmer to help them build back their farmhouse. Just giving whatever little support. We have our little brigade going around still. Yeah, so a couple of us went to give some assistance to a farmer to help him build back his farmhouse. So those are some of the small things that we small but impactful that we're trying to do during this period. And so we do have a lot of peas on the island, green peas, dry peas, but they need hands for picking. So
heavy on the peas, man. Heavy on the peas.
Heavy on the peas. This is the maroon time, this is the sarka time, smoke fruit time. So we do have quite a bit of peas on island as well. So yeah, the farmers they are doing pretty okay in that regard and trying to see how they can recoup. They sustained a lot of damages from the hurricane. A lot of damage they sustained. So they're just trying to get back up and moving.
But Senator Cox, and someone just reminded me of that. And I know my good friend, he calls me nearly every night, that's Fadu. He was trying to speak about that and we didn't get around to it. The new act that has been put in place in relation to water management, the new water management unit that is in place now, it bars the farmers from doing exactly what they're doing in Carriacou now. No farmer is allowed to take any water just like that. They now are supposed to get I believe they're supposed to get a permit to be able to extract water.
Permit, to extract water, yes.
If it's enforced, I think some of the farmers in Carriacou may find themselves in a bit of a problem with that one. Because they have to extract from the ponds and it is surface water, and as long as it's surface water, even farmers here in Grenada, I'm not sure if the farmers here in Grenada are aware that this is now in place, that they have to get a permit. They can't just send a hose down to the stream or the river and say they're taking water again, or the pond and take water again. All surface water belongs to NOASA.
Yes.
So they are actually going to have to get a permit, pay for and get a permit from NOASA to be able to utilize the water. And I don't know if it's a permit to just use as much as you want or up to a certain amount, or it's measured, or how it's done.
I think you can apply, based on my recollection from the legislation, you can apply for a year, you can apply for months or 2 or 3 months. But that would depend on the turnaround time for approving the permit. Because you don't want to pay for a month, and if it takes you a month to get the permit, by the time you get the permit, you can't do what you have to do. So they have to look at that. They have to look at that issue. But yes, there are some restrictions with that new legislation. We did raise some concerns. I personally did raise some concerns when we were debating that bill in terms of the gaps and the weaknesses with it. I do know that not all bill that comes solid and covered. Some of them do have little loopholes. But I think there is a strong possibility that we may see some amendments to that legislation to accommodate for some of those scenarios that we have not really planned out or seen. So that will come out, based on once you start to implement and you start to look at the people who use the legislation. I think that's where you see some of the amendments that are required. So there's a strong likelihood there might be some amendments, or they might be silent and some parts of the legislation will not enforce it. So that is something too as well that normally happens.
Because this would also affect the people who are doing construction, not just the farmers, but the people who are doing construction and they take water from the river or from the spring or from whatever in their area and they're using it.
The well, yes, the wells,
Legally, they're not supposed to be doing that now. They have to apply to the water management unit and get the permit to be able to utilize that water.
When the unit is established, the unit is not established as yet, so there's still some grace period there.
Hurry up and build.
Yeah.
And as we're on construction, how is that particular field going in Carriacou? I know some guys from down here, they disappear in Carriacou now. They ain't coming down. They're going from one project to the other. But strange enough, these are not government projects. These are people that have got their money together and families put together, and now they're doing their own thing. How is construction going in Carriacou?
Well, as you know, it's really the biggest driver right now in terms of employment for persons on island. Of course, obvious persons are trying to repair their home. And rightly so, Carriacouans, we must be commended for resilience in being able to treat with the magnitude, the disaster for some persons. I mean, when you look at some of the size of the houses, larger the house, it's more damages, more costly to repair. So persons are doing. Some persons have received support from the government through the $15,000 worth of material. So it has helped some persons. Some persons who have the resources and the capacity, the financial capacity to utilize the $15,000 worth of material have gone on and buy additional and do what they have to do. Others who have not been able to do the same, to do likewise, they just have the materials, and the materials are basically sitting there. So that is one of the other challenges in terms of persons who are entrusted with their own recovery efforts. So with the little support that they have received, they're not in a position to actually complement that support and to get the work done. So we're looking to see how that goes out, and we as a party, we're trying to help as best as we can. In some cases, if it's just labor, if we do have a friend or so that can provide some support in terms of material, we reach out to as well as much as possible to help, because it's not easy, and we do recognize that the government is not in a position to help everybody, and we're not being unreasonable in that regard. But I think how everything has been encapsulated in terms of the assessment of the damages and the plan, or the lack thereof of a plan to properly implement and to respond based on the needs of the people, I think that is where one of the major weaknesses in the response effort. Fine, we hear a lot of talk about police station roof go on, or school, or a clinic, or a government building, but the real focus on the persons who are affected more is the people. And so while there are efforts to do houses for persons, there's still, I think there's a clear opportunity to help persons differently. And I think I would approach it differently. If I had an opportunity to do so, I would advise differently. But we are where we are, and so it's a challenge for some persons. So while receiving some help from government, they're still not in a position to proceed in a manner that they can see the roof going on back in any time soon. Just today, just looking at some of the damages, it's really heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm. Now, Senator Cox also, and I asked the question about the construction as well, because we are just a couple months away from the hurricane season once again, and the rainy season once again. By the time you hear April, May, June, we're back into it again. And is there some sort of speed being moved with to provide housing for the many people who are still without proper housing or housing at all on the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique? Is anything significant being done to utilize this dry season, which is when the period you could actually do the building and you could be pouring concrete and you could be doing these things? Is anything significant being done at this point in time to fast forward the construction of houses and so on? Or is it the same pace at which said that we're getting 200 by December, and right now I think is 5 or 6 or somewhere there of houses that should be built every 3 weeks? But anyway, that's another story. What is taking place with that?
Well, as I said, the government, they have taken a decision to build some houses, some small houses. There was this big launch about Build Back Better, and so they are doing some of those houses. I think about 5 or so probably would have been delivered or hand over thus far. But there are some just starting, some close to near finish. So that is one side. They would have received the 27 houses from the NGO out of Trinidad and Tobago. And I noticed that they just received some prefab houses. I think those probably came out of Miami. I think that's where I saw those houses, somewhere out of Miami. Some container kind of style houses, kind of box houses like. So one of the things that I observed straight away, I saw them on Sunday, down in the Dumfries area when I was passing. One of the observations is that those houses apparently do not have a roof. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have like a canopy, like either a shared roof or gable or whatever the case be. They don't have roofs. It's just a flat top. And I think there are pictures on Facebook, so persons can just check.
It's basically a container.
Yeah.
Like you have the 40-foot container, the how much foot container. It's basically just a container with air condition and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's much. When I say it's much large, it's wider than a container. I can't remember, I don't know what the dimensions, but it's much wider than a container in a sense. But it's a kind of containerized style housing. So
I've seen them used for offices on work sites. That's what I see. Those sort of buildings used for. You have a job site, somewhere in the forest, wherever, and you usually put one of those so that you could operate an office from it. But in this instance, it's being used for housing.
So it will help. It will help for persons who do not have a home. That they can find some place to shelter for them. It will provide that facility for them. But as I said, one of the things that I observe is that it doesn't have a roof, something to catch water. So I don't know if there are discussions with the supplier so that they can fabricate some sort of a roof that they can put on it so that persons can catch water for household purposes. So that is something that they may need to look at. I don't know if the government could afford that additional stuff, or they might ask the homeowner to chip in or something, but that's one of my observations. Or they may need to get the water distribution network from the desalination plant to that area. I think my biggest disappointment with that aspect of the housing, the new housing that came, is the proximity to the sanitary landfill. That is my.
These are actually closer than the last set to the. You say sanitary landfill. I'll say it in normal terms. These are actually closer to the dump.
Yeah, it's much closer, very much closer. So
the others were close already. So if these are closer to the dump, then nearly putting the people on the dump.
So like there's a road, the main road between separating the dump on one side, and probably about. The closest house is probably about maybe my estimation, maybe 300-400 feet away, something like that. It's close.
I got to fly my drone. I'll send my drone from here. I'll go fly it up. I'll fly it up there.
It's close. So I think that was my only disappointment with that initiative. I think fine, yes, it's all good. It's nice that government can provide some housing for persons. I think that is a good principle in thought and action. However, I still was just lost. Why would you want to erect those houses smack dead right? The other houses, there was a little way off at the top, but when you bring these houses now, I mean, like right there, I just didn't understand why they choose that site. So. Maybe that is something that they can explain. I just find it just was not appropriate to have them right there. Yeah.
Is it a situation that Petit Martinique, we know they got none out of the 27 that were done before, prefab that were donated. These prefab houses, is Petit Martinique going to be benefiting? Have you heard anything of Petit Martinique preparations? Are they going to be benefiting?
Well, I spoke to some of the persons, the prospective recipients. I spoke to some of them, and they were told that they were going to receive some of those houses. I don't know if any preparations were made for what came, this first batch that came, I think 5 that came now. I stand corrected. I'm not certain if Peter Matlick received any, but I can verify. But I'm not certain. But persons were promised that they're going to receive from this set. Yes, persons did tell me that they were told that.
For Petit Martinique in particular.
For Petit Martinique. But currently, I know that they have probably 3 or 4 houses. They build back better stuff that they're doing now. I think about 3 or 4 is under construction in Petit Martinique. But there are no completed houses for Petit Martinique to this date. Yes, and so that is why my cry for Petit Martinique has been very, very loud.
I still ask myself, what sin did the people of Petit Martinique commit to be treated this way? Senator Cox, another question on housing, and this one comes in from one of the listeners. They're asking, what's the present status of the Chinese housing project in Carriacou? What is the present status of that project right now? Is it that people living there, left, right, and center, have a lot of people living there, or most of them empty?
There are some persons there. I don't know what the number is like. But I gather there might be, I think it's about 100 units.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact figure. Yeah.
Yes, 100. Yeah, 100 units. But I gather there might be less people than the amount of units that are there. But I don't know the figure. I don't know the figure.
Right.
That is something I probably need to find out too as well.
Yeah. Indeed. And folks, as I said, I'm speaking with Senator Cox right now. We're speaking about some of the issues faced by the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. We've spoken about the agriculture. We've spoken about the construction. Now, also with the construction, Senator Cox, some of the guest houses, and so we know some of them were seriously impacted. I know Hotel Lorena, I know for one, seriously impacted. There were some units that were totally destroyed. What is taking place in relation to them? I know most of them were insured, so, and I ain't talking to people business, I saying most of them. I ain't saying any one in particular were insured and so on. Are we seeing the work being done to restore room stock in Carriacou for people who want to overnight in Carriacou or spend a weekend in Carriacou? And so is room stock going back up?
I have to say, yes, it's going back up because persons who have not, they have done some degree of work to a certain level to open back. And I know some of them, they are planning to scale up the repairs of the remaining work, the major repairs. Some of the guest houses have done some, but most of the guest houses are partially, for one of a better word, partially open. They are open, but can only take certain, not full capacity. They're not back to full capacity as yet. So that is the challenge. There is one hotel that I had to address in my budget presentation, which I didn't get an opportunity to, and I want to raise it here because, you know, sometimes when we make decisions, we have to understand the impact of the decisions, and that is the Grandview Hotel. That hotel for me was basically caused to close because of the construction of the Bel Air Road. You know, because that hotel is along the route to the main road to the Princess Royal Hospital, the Bel Air Road. And since that work started, it just had impacted the hotel operations in a number of ways. Thus, no access, the road was closed off. It was a poor implementation, not considering the impact that you would have on that business. And really and truly, that project caused that hotel to close, to go out of business. Really and truly. That is my assessment of it. I can't put it no other way. And then burial came more than a year afterwards. This April, making it 2 years since that Bel Air Road is under construction. 2 years. It started in April of 2023. and we are in April 2020, 25. So it's 2 years, and that road is not completed as yet. So I really empathize with the owners of the Grandview Hotel. I know that on one of the programs sometime last year, I believe, on GBN to the Point program where I went on, I think the following day, the government side went on, and the owner called in, and it was sad to hear him, his plea, his outcry for an audience with the authorities to deal with the matter, and how that road project was impacting his business, his investment. So that hotel is closed right now.
And I'm pretty sure he still had to pay his various taxes and so on. He wasn't given a blight and so on. Now he's been impacted seriously by the hurricane.
So I didn't get a chance to speak on that matter, but it's they could have done it differently. They could have allowed access up to the hotel and then close the road thereof higher up and walk. And then so the length of time that the hotel would have to be impacted would have been less, because it would be a short span right from the Grandview down to the entrance, the Bossageo entrance. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't know, it's really unfortunate. And it goes back to the whole issue of planning, and because that project was not really issued as a contract, but it was done with different contractors doing the work. So I don't know. It's a really sad situation for that business to just close just like that because of a road project. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
at least something could have been done. You do a half, and then you do the other half, whichever way to allow the business to continue.
So accommodation is coming back slowly. Persons are doing repairs. The numbers are going up slowly. Likewise with places to eat, and so restaurants. Some of them are open, and others are coming back slowly. So it's work in progress, I must admit, and it's difficult for businesses right now because the cost of goods and services has gone up significantly. Cost of material, the cost of labor, and just generally the cost of living has gone up. So you have less disposable income. What $20 could have done before burial, it's operating like if it's $5 right now. So that's really the true nature of what we are experiencing.
Yes, indeed. And so we've spoken about that aspect of it. Healthcare on Carriacou, Petit Martinique. We know that under the new National Party, several initiatives were put in place, especially for people, for instance, transporting people to and from Carriacou who have medical issues, working along with the Osprey lines, all these different things. What is the present status when it comes to healthcare, the main health facility on the island, the clinics around the island, and so what is taking place when it comes to healthcare and our people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique?
So I'll start with the clinics, the health centers. So all the health centers that have been significantly impacted, they are not back yet operational. Some work have been done on two that I know of, Leicester and Windward. I think some work is been getting ready to be done on Mount Pleasant. But those two, the roof have been replaced, but the interior work is not completed as yet. So they are not operational. Petit Martinique, unfortunately, nothing has been done in Petit Martinique. And that was my contention is that...
Wait, hold a minute. So you're telling me that the health facility, basically the only health facility on Petit Martinique, no work has been done on it up to this point in time?
No, not that I know. I know no work has been done.
The Grenada Nurses Association were up there, and I saw them doing some photos, and so I myself saw it right after the hurricane when we were up there. And I find it very, very difficult to understand why nothing has been done there.
And okay, no, so and that was my part of my presentation at the budget was that, look, you have, no, you did Winwood, you did Mount Pleasant, Leicester, we gone to Mount Pleasant. No, so what about Peter Martinic? There are other health centers. There is the Hillsborough Health Center, which is operational. So there is, in terms of a facility, there is an availability of service on Carriacou via health centers, unlike Peter Martinic that has none. So it would make sense to at least give Peter Martinic some priority, because that is the lone health center. You have seniors on island who need care on a weekly basis. And so I am still puzzled why that attention has not gone to Peter Martinic. I don't know if they have other plans to do something or to demolish the building and to do something different. I don't know, but they have not said, but just that nothing has been done. So Peter Martinic is suffering in that regard. And then we could still, with this, so the other health centers in Carriacou that was damaged there, as I said, some work has been done on them, but they're not operational. The hospital is back operational. The galvanizers were replaced on the roof, and they've been operational. They did a lot of work in terms of cleaning and getting the hospital back in order. What has happened is because of some of the challenges with some of the services that the hospital may lack, you find we have a higher transfer rate, meaning that based on persons' concerns, if the hospital deem that there is a challenge, the safe and proper thing to do is to transfer that patient to general hospital. So you have the increase in transfers taking place in that regard. So in terms of the health, I mean, I haven't heard any major issues on Carriacou side, major challenges in comparison to what is taking place on the mainland. But to say that one of the issues that Dr. Mayana, Senator, spoke about in her presentation with a pregnant lady being transferred and having to wait for the ambulance to come get her almost an hour after the boat arrived, after midnight in the night or in the morning is very concerning. Yeah. So that incident took place. So those are some of the unique challenges that we as Carriacouans will face in terms of transport and things like that.
And Senator Cox, a listener is asking me a question, and from somewhere in my mind, it seems to touch a memory there. Didn't we see the Minister of Finance receiving a check regarding the rebuilding of the Petit Martinique health facility at some point in time?
Was it from DCOR?
I believe so.
Yes.
And I think it was directly in relation to and nothing has been done thus far.
Yes, and that sponsorship was specific towards Petit Martinique Health Center. So there you go. So some support would have come in terms of cash, and but so far I haven't heard anything regarding repair work on health center. Maybe as I've seen in recent time when I speak, there seem to be some action thereafter. So maybe between now and weekend, we might hear work is started on the Petit Martinique Health Center, which is a good thing.
Well,
which is a good thing,
we know what happens is that anytime you go on GBN or you go on any platform and you speak, the present MP from Carriacou gets seriously concerned and has to find himself on some platform the following day. So we fully expect that he'll find himself either on the government time tomorrow on GBN or on one of their programs, or so he'll find himself somewhere tomorrow. We know he can't help it. He must respond. So we're looking for that one. But I want
just to give you a little feedback on that, and just to show how it's important for as a responsible opposition, it's important to raise issues. So I spoke in the Parliament last Tuesday in the budget, and by the time I got to Carriacou on Saturday, the Hillsborough playing field was cleared of all the debris. I mean, it was good, that they moved it. Unfortunately, they trucked it to another playing field. But at least it's one less playing field with their Renit, and I'm quite certain that Hillsborough Secondary School, of course, the students and residents surrounding the Hillsborough Recreation would feel much more at ease, not waking up to a pile of debris every morning, but a cleared playing field. So, I must give the government commendations for at least speedily getting it done after some stagnancy in that regard. And I think it's important as opposition to raise those issues, to raise those things that matter to people most, that concern persons most, so raising awareness. And it's not about critiquing children, it's more about raising concerns, issues, so that government can see these are things that they need to pay attention to. We actually helping them.
Yes,
that's how I see it.
Indeed, and I just didn't want something to be lost before we move on to the next area here.
Yeah.
When we speak about if somebody falls ill in Petit Martinique right now, without that health facility there to at least stabilize them before you take them out, it means you have to put them on a speedboat and come around gunpoint to come over into Carriacou with them. You have to pass around because there's not the facility again in Windward, the jetty isn't there. Or
well,
would they go
you
over
can come in Windward. You could come in Windward if it's a small boat. You could come in Windward if it's a small boat. And if you come ashore, then they may have to heist the person out or something of the sort because it's closer coming into Windward. So in the interest of time, it still might serve, if it's an emergency, it might serve better to come into Windward despite the lack of berthing availability. And you know, today, Sheldon, somebody calling a GBM program today, and it's just persons must really put themselves in other people's position before they make certain remarks and comment. And he was like, oh, Cox, you spoke about the jetty in Windward. Why are you doing about the jetty in Windward? I was like, come on, that's a public asset, and there is a government of the day who has a responsibility to ensure those assets that provide services for the people, that they do so in a responsible way. And it's not like I haven't given suggestions in how we could do something temporary. Files are there. And that is not just my suggestion, but suggestion of Peter McNican's. They're saying, look, the piles are there. Just run some wood and just put back a wooden jetty temporarily while you make preparations for a more permanent structure. I don't know what is disingenuous about that. I don't know what is negative about that for somebody to be upset because I raise that issue and I give a suggestion as to how it could be resolved. I don't get it. I'm really lost as to why somebody would see that as me attacking the government. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is 2025. So it's a real issue for persons. It's a real issue on days that when we have rough seas. Hillsborough is susceptible to surging. We know it's generally a safe port. You have surging in town, you could come in, we know that's normal. And once you have surgeon, the doctor, rough seas, the doctor can't go to Petit Martinique. You can't go. Sometimes school children can't come to Carriacou because if you're a surgeon, the boat may have to go all the way to Harveyville to drop people off. Those are the issues. Those are the real things that happen. So when I hear people trying to attack me personally for raising something that is affecting people, as a member of parliament, which I have a responsibility to raise and speak on issues in the interest of the people who we serve. It baffles me. It really baffles me. So, however, I will not be deterred in that regard. I mean, once I do have the space and opportunity, I am going to raise those issues. Yeah, I'm going to continue to raise them because I'm not making up a story. I'm not saying anything that would hurt people or create chaos. is just a genuine issue. It's a genuine concern for the people of Petit Martinique. It's real. They are the ones that live it every day. You know? So I am just really, really disappointed in the government's response to this matter. And coincidentally, the advisor to the minister is from Petit Martinique. You know? So I say it for what it's worth, and I think that should even put more pep in the step. Yeah?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that is,
because I know it's a serious situation that exists there when it comes to getting between Petit Martinique and Carriacou, and especially if you have an emergency. And you cannot have children who already have lost time because of Hurricane Beryl are now losing time because of rough seas, because you don't see it fit to put a temporary structure in place as a jetty for them to be able to come in and get to school, or who has to go to work in Carriacou to be able to get there, who may even have to get into Carriacou because they've got to travel down to Grenada and maybe even travel out of Grenada, out of the state, that you're creating problems for these persons when you should be trying to make things as smooth as possible for these individuals.
But trust me, Sheldon, the people of Petit Martinique have it the hardest. They have it the hardest. I mean, just being very honest about their situation. They have it the hardest. Yeah.
Indeed.
So, I mean, remember, pretty much there is no banking services on the island. Persons have to come, they have to go through this to transact business. They don't have it easy. And I'm not saying that government have all the solution to address it, but the fact still remains that is what exists. That is what they have to go through on a daily basis. And so, we have to wrap our heads, find creative ways to see how we can try to address their issues, their needs, their concerns, and to work with them and to help them. That is all. They are basically independent people, and they don't ask so much. And anytime we hear people pretty much open their mouth on a particular issue, it's because it's important to them. That I know for a fact. They don't really ask so much. They handle the issues themselves. So I say it for what it's worth, that there is a clear opportunity for the ministry, the government to move quickly to bring some redress to this matter.
Now, I want to move quickly on to another issue here. The issue of sports. You're former Minister of Sports, former Minister of Culture and Youth, etc. The issue of sports. We're coming up quickly to the Intercol Games. Team Carriacou, in fact, only last night on the news, I saw our Olympic bronze medalist Lyndon Victor sponsoring the two schools, secondary schools in Carriacou, Hillsborough and Bishop's College, sponsoring them. And what is the present situation when it comes to the ability of these young people to safely train in Carriacou as it is right now? I know that the facility down at Harveyvale, I believe it. No, not Harveyvale. Lauriston was not interfered with. Are the other playing fields cleared up to the point where these schools can go and practice? For instance, Hillsborough playing field. Is it safe for them to use that and practice?
No, it's not available for any activity. It's not at this current time.
I don't think that's the impression a lot of Grenadians have. I think the impression that is being given is that clear up and everything.
Let me start first by just expressing thanks and gratitude to my good friend and colleague Lyndon for sponsoring our schools. He's a great individual. I mean, he has such an amazing characteristic about him, and people who know him, if you get to know him, he's an outstanding person, really outstanding in who his values and everything, and so it's been a while that we haven't had a chat, but that's one of the persons who I love to have conversation with about life and different things and what he experienced and how his journey and his failures, how they have shaped who he became as an individual. I think that is something that that is really, really inspiring. I think if he has an opportunity to share with other young persons, I think he should do so. So I want to thank him for that. And say that we come back to the issue of decisions, management, and the whole issue of good leadership, and why that is called into question. Because the whole issue of putting the debris in the playing fields should not have been so extensive. It should have not. A lot of advice was given against doing that. And I'm still at a loss why we did it and so extensively, because we moved a lot of debris down to Harveyville, especially zinc sheets. Now I see we're moving stuff from Harveyville to Dumfries, so it's a whole mix up. You take stuff from town, you bring it to Harveyville, and now we take it back from Harveyville back to Dumfries. So it's a whole commerce. Yeah. So that is one of the whole intricacies of the whole cleanup and process. So Hillsborough, they have removed all the major debris. I think that there's some talk about sterilizing the pasture and things like that. They would have to probably I would suggest that they get some advice on how to get that pasture recuperated back safely, so that persons can play this safely without having to get cuts or punctured by nail or any other stuff. I think it's something that will be the concern for persons using that facility and the other playing fields going forward. Hope to see how they would address that. They would have to probably bring in topsoil to cover and to create a new layer, and then to replant grass to have those playing fields back up and running. But however, Lauriston was not, unfortunately, was not damaged. So it's the lone playing field that is available for sporting activities currently. A couple of the schools were able to pull off a little sports meet this year, which was very good. I think the last school that had one recently was Hillsborough Secondary School. A couple of Fridays ago, they had a wonderful sports meet. So the whole issue of sports is coming back gradually. The tennis court in Hillsborough, I noticed, while damaged, it is used for lawn tennis on Saturdays, I believe. I think I see the bit on Saturdays and Sundays. So sports is coming back gradually. For cricket, they should be able to play cricket at the Lauriston Mini Stadium, because that's the only place where the pitch is in condition. They would have to construct probably a new pitch in Hillsborough and Harveyville as well. Go back and do a new turf because of all the debris and things placed there. So that is where we are with sports. It's going to take some time for us to get back, but the damage is already done, and we cannot change that. We just have to find a way to repair it going forward. One of the things I'm very curious though about, Sheldon, which I would love to hear some more specific figures in terms of the costs for the transportation to move the debris and so in Carriacou. I think there's possibly a likelihood that's a question I may throw in the parliament, so we can get some answers. I've been hearing some concerning things about the size of the contract and whatever. So we need to find some questions. We need to get some questions. We need to get some answers. So some questions will come. So I said it early, so the questions wouldn't probably come as a surprise to the government, because I know that they do listen to you at times.
No,
if not all the time.
They're always listening. From the Prime Minister down, they listen. And even if they don't listen, the people around them listen and come back to them and tell them when they get to listen. So, but one of the things, and I'll make this suggestion for the benefit of the young people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, I know that at the Grenada National Stadium, there was a piece of equipment that was used that would be passed over the field, so that even if it's a piece of wood or a piece of bottle or a piece of metal, even a staple, whatever it was, it would identify that and you could move it off of the field. Now, I know that was there in our time. I don't know if it's still there now, but such a piece of equipment might be important to utilize on a playing field like Hillsborough and the other playing fields first, to see how much of the debris that's there, the nails, and because it's nails and brick bottle and pieces of tin and all kind of thing in the soil now, that even if you put back a top layer of soil, you may still end up with a problem. So you have to deal with that and then move to the... So I'm going to make the suggestion to them. Get a few of those, utilize them, clean up the fields, and then you could bring in your topsoil and so, because the youth of Carriacou and Petit Martinique deserve better. And when you look at the intercall over the last 10, 15 years, you realize Carriacou has always been up there. I know at times they have certain quote-unquote elite schools afraid when you realize Carriacou in pole position on day one, you realize the second or the third and so on, within striking distance, that people get afraid. But so we don't want that to fall back. We want to make sure that one of our next Olympic medals come from Carriacou as well.
I know that we do have a new sports officer. I mean, I know him very well. I think he will try to do his best. I do hope that he gets more opportunity in terms of training and development to improve his competencies, so that can transfer to our youth and athletes. So I want to wish him all the best. I know him very well. He's a good friend of mine as well. So I think that there is a clear opportunity for improvement and growth in the area. And of course, Sebastian, while not working in government, is still there, who used to be the sports officer before. And he works with the school. Whenever there is sports, they call on him because of his expertise and competencies. So he's normally there, even managing the races, and so he's doing his part. And so, and that must be commended. He must be commended for that. I think it shows principle, a discipline, commitment. So even being fired dismissed by the current government for something that he's competent in and loves doing, he still does it. He still does it for the schools.
And fired unfairly so. Fired unfairly so as well.
So as we talk about that, I'm happy. I'm not sure if you're raising a program thus far, but the five workers of the Carriacou were vindicated, who were fired in the early hours of the NDC administration in 2022. And so they will receive some compensation, as far as I understand. I don't know to what extent. It would have been nice for them to get back their work, but fortunately, it is what it is. So it just goes to show that our cry was one of fairness and justice.
But Senator Cox, that story has been buried. Not a single major news item has been done in relation to that to promote it much. I think one of the media houses did bring it. But you realize that they buried that story, that the people that were fired in the early days, that the Attorney General of Grenada went on the NDC broadcasts and said that nothing was wrong with firing these people, that she was proven wrong because the courts vindicated these young people, these people that were, well, young and not so young, these people that were sent home unfairly and illegally. And now the government has found itself in a situation they have to pay them.
Well, coincidentally, it was the said Attorney General who, when that matter was raised by the Labour representative in the Senate on last Thursday, she stand and said that the matter was resolved and publicly spoke on the matter. So I am only speaking after her.
Mm-hmm.
And so just in case, sometimes some people think that you give false information. So I'm only repeating what she said at the last sitting of the Senate. And so I just want to say how happy I am that those persons would have gotten some redress to the matter, which they were very much aggrieved.
Mm-hmm. So, Senator Cox, we could talk a lot more in relation to Carriacou and Petit Martinique, but I sort of want to pivot because I just checked my time and I realize my time is quickly running down. And I just want to deal with one or two issues quickly. One,
sure.
The Woburn Cliff project. You were the minister at the point in time when that was being organized, and so we're hearing all sorts of alternative stories, all sorts of rigmarole back and forth by the Prime Minister in relation to that issue. From where you sit, where should we have been with that project at this point in time? Only about sometime during last month, I saw the government issuing notices in the government gazette for the reclamation of lands from a number of people along the road to do the widening and so on.
I observed it too as well. I have seen it in the gazette as well. I saw it.
And this is something they should have been done a long time ago and sorted out. From
right.
Where you sit, where is it?
So this is from what I'm seeing, and you see, contracts are very intricate and very dynamic. Projects are dynamic, and I don't know what is the details in terms of who is holding up who via the contract and the employer. But it is clear that the project had started. Excavation work as deemed necessary for the widening of the road based on the road designs started, and then you see afterwards the filing for government to claim those lands for those additional lands from private persons. No, that's a normal thing in infrastructure. We set aside monies for budget every year for acquiring lands for development purposes, for widening the road. So that is normal. It's a normal practice. So what should have happened is that all those should have already been completed before construction work commenced. However, it can happen while construction work is ongoing as well, meaning that if you have a relationship, you establish a relationship with the owners of the property, and you have a conversation or you have an agreement, a verbal or even written agreement, that you can proceed while the necessary acquisition procedure goes through and finalized, and then payment will come thereafter. Once they agree, that can also happen while construction work is going on. So I don't know which of both scenarios was actually at play, and whether or not that also was responsible for delays. Delays can occur from either design changes. Delay can also occur from late payments. So sometimes a contractor may, and how those contracts are called, what you call performance contract, meaning that you get paid for work done. So a contractor may have done a certain amount of work, put out a certain amount of money, and based on his cash flow or based on his project funding plan, would say, well, look, I put out $100,000, $150,000 of work, so I'm sending my claim, and every 14 days, that's the standard time. In 14 days, your claim should be paid, and so that cash will come in back to replenish your funding plan, so that you can further implement and continue the work. So if payment is delayed as well, or payment is late, that in itself can affect the implementation of the work as well. So there's a series of issues, a series of things that can cause a job of that nature to hold up. Sometimes you have variations in actually working, sometimes it's on a stable slope, sometimes it's something else that you didn't plan for, and that can cause delays as well. But I do not have any information on the nature of what is taking place with that project and what is responsible for the delays. But I do know, one thing I do know, that payment has been late, not only that for that project, but for a number of other major government contracts that are ongoing. Payment has been late. So that can be a possible issue. I don't want to say that is the only issue or that is the main issue, but I know that is one of the issues, late payment. So I did saw on one of the public, the online papers, newspapers, the Minister for Infrastructure and Prime Minister, of course, giving some ultimatum or something of the sort about that project and being done in a particular time or completed in a particular time. I'm not certain. I know. I mean, that is his prerogative to make that statement. But I think the best place when you have issues like that is the best place to have a conversation with the contractor, your engineers, and to really drill down as to what the issue is. You know, and sometimes something happens. Sometimes you have to move past some incidents in the interest of the project, in the interest of the country, in the interest of saving government money and getting value for money, and coming up with a best plan for implementing and finalizing the project as quickly as possible, so that traffic can get moving. So if you start by having conflict, then there comes an issue where it might be to the point of termination. So if the contract were to be terminated, then now you have to get the next contractor to come on site. And then that contractor would have to mobilize. The one who is on site will have to demobilize. And so that can really result in further delays. So I don't know what is the issue with that project. I really can't say. It would be unfair of me to really assume and make false pronouncements as to why there are delays on that project, or there are other issues on that project. I wouldn't do that, because I understand. I've been there. I know that delays can happen for a number of reasons, but it is what it is. But I do hope that roadway can be done quickly as possible. I mean, we had a good plan, I believe, for getting it done. Because we were preparing for it. As you know, that road going down, there's a back road going down, and your bus not loaded down by the
sugar factory, yeah.
By the rum factory, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We deliberately did that road for the purpose of implementing that cliff project. So that was the reason why we did that road, so you serve as an alternative traffic and serve persons in that regard. So preparations were made for the implementation of that. So I do hope they were able to get it done. The whole issue of widening the road, all that was considered, and persons, I noticed that there was an incident there recently with a piece of equipment going down a house. You know, it's yesterday it was. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that has happened. Also for the homeowner and so on, for the contractor as well. That is cost. There are losses, there are expenses. So
and
the employer will have to
our best wishes to both parties involved.
Yeah. I mean, it could have gone a lot wrong. Fortunately, there were no major injury. I think the resident in the house probably was a little bit shaken up, and unfortunately, I think based on the news report, she saw it coming down, so she took evasive action. So hopefully that they are okay, and they'll have to do some work on the house. So I mean, it's just unfortunate, you know. Accidents do create unfortunate situations in most cases. So that's the situation with the cliff project. No, that I can't speak on.
The next project I want to ask for, because an announcement has been made in relation to this one. Remember the government claiming that they had lost the UK funding in relation to the Western Main Road project. That they had lost the funding and it was due to poor implementation, blah, blah. Nonsense, actually, but that was the claim. Afterwards, we heard from them that they got it back. Now we're hearing that project has been shifted from the Western Main Road now to between the airport to the town of St. George.
No. So let me correct you. All right. Now, the funding support was for two components. Yeah. Two components. There is a NASA component. A NASA component which involves the lane upgrading of the sewage, I think from St. George's all the way down to Point Saline.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if my memory serves me right. And there's a Western Main Road corridor. That's the infrastructure, the widening of the roads, bridges, drains, development. That was lost. So initially, they pulled back everything, the entire funding, impacting both the Nawasa component and the Western Main Road corridor. However, in dialogue with the government of Grenada, the funding, the provider of the fund, gave for us to commence and to proceed with the Nawasa component, which is the upgrade of the sewage and water distribution network, all the way down to Grenada.
Which existed before.
Which existed, so it's an upgrade. Yes, so that was there. So initially they pulled back everything, and then after discussions and negotiations, they only gave back that component. But the Western Corridor component, that's gone. That's lost. That's lost.
No, but what I'm saying is that the story that's being spread is that, we get back the project now, but instead of doing it on the Western Main Road, we're going to be doing it down between Point Saline and town.
Because the extensive work that has to be done in terms of the upgrade of the sewer will definitely dig up the entire roadway between St. George's and Grenada. So in effect, what was happening is that we didn't do any major road network surfacing on that Grenada's mainway to Point Saline because we knew that the project was coming, and that in itself would destroy the road.
Mm-hmm.
It will destroy the road. The road will have to be cut up and dug up for the pipes to be laid and things like that. So it wouldn't make sense for us to go and invest in resurfacing the road, all for it to be cut up thereafter. So the whole resurfacing that roadway is part and parcel of repairing the road after you did the upgrade to the system. Yeah? So that's what it's about. And I just want to add, I don't know what is happening with the road maintenance and the mixing of the asphalt. It has been very saggy. I don't know, the consistency of the mixture is not staying in the potholes, but is running out of the potholes in most cases. I mean, there are reports, even on there are other roads in Grenada where that was done recently, down Grenada through the area. There are reports that when it's hot outside, the road is very pliable and very soft to the touch. So I think it's something that the Ministry of Infrastructure have to look into in terms of the quality of the asphalt mix that they're doing for the maintenance work. So I raise it for what is the concern that made me, persons. I did observe it as well. So I just raise it as something that I think that they need to look into.
Yeah, it's been squished out of the potholes in different areas. If you're coming down Luther's Lane, for instance, you recognize that there are potholes in the Tantine area, some of the potholes that they were placed in. And I'm not even blaming the crews that are doing it, but it is the material that they're supplied with seems to be substandard. So after a time, as I say, when the sun gets hot and a truck or something passes and it hit that spot, it pushes all of the material out of the hole. So you end up with this kind of bowl shape.
Well, the ministry do have our road officers who do supervise those gangs, and so somebody needs to take some responsibility for the quality of the work. Maybe ensure that the measurement, the mixture is appropriate when they're doing so. So that is something that they need to look into urgently, so that the repair work, the maintenance work, can be what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
And Senator Cox, we're down to the final 9 minutes. Yeah, that's to tell you, we're talking so much.
Man, you're always doing that to me, man. You're tricking me. I think I'm gonna time myself next time. So I'll come and give you one. When my alarm go off, I'll put it on so everybody will hear the alarm going off. Like in the parliament, when the bell goes off, you know that your time is up. We have 5 more minutes. So I think I'll have to put a time on you because you trick me every time. Every time I come on, you're tricking me.
Yeah, 45 minutes doesn't up an hour. But you see, when we're talking about home, when we're talking about Carriacou and Petit Martinique, by the time we start, we can't just leave out, because we have to talk about what's going on in Petit Martinique. We must say what's going on with all these things. But these other areas that I've brought up there, I believe, are also very important, and you're a very knowledgeable person on it. One final question before you leave. I've been reliably informed that people who are working within the private sector through the Imani program, their last day of work is the 31st of March. After that, they will be at home. If the place is willing to hire them, that's one thing. If where they are attached in training, they're attached to, let's say they're attached to a pharmacy, they're attached to wherever, those individuals will be sent home. They'll be just sent home. They're not going to be receiving any payments or anything or any stipend. They are going home as of the 31st of March. Your views on what is taking place there? It's going to be a very hard situation for a lot of young people out there. I know of some who were working in daycares, who were working in various businesses, and so on. And because of the tenuous economic environment, it's not a situation that they can be taken on fully. So now they'll be finding themselves on the breadline in a lot of instances. Your views in relation to that?
Well, I that matter was raised in terms of, I think, under the presentation of, I think, the senator who spoke on youth, or who commands the supervision of youth in the government of today. And so she spoke on it, and there was some presence of, or presentation of success and achievement by saying that the levels in terms of processing the program reduced, and the reason for that, a number of persons, some 200 or 300 persons, are going to be transitioned to permanent jobs. But I didn't have the luxury of really responding to her right away, because immediately I would have responded by saying, the reason why the numbers are going down is because since 2022, you have not taken any new persons into the program. So obviously, if persons are transitioning, if persons are moving out or for whatever reason, and you're not bringing in new applicants, of course the numbers will continue to go down. And so they were trying to make the case to say that they are managing the program better and persons are transitioning, but you haven't taken anybody in.
But so, during your period, there were situations where you could count every 6 months on the number of young people that got permanent employment through the Imani program. And
yes, of course. Yeah, we transition a lot of people, a lot of young persons. But the reason why the numbers sustained at a particular level is because we were taking in new people all the time. Every year, we were taking in a new batch of trainees. So that in itself explained that. Yes, that matter was raised in terms of, I haven't heard specifically about a close date for the program. I can't recall hearing it, but I did hear the discussions around persons are going to be placed at businesses who have to take up the responsibility for dealing with that. And I suspect that the government is trying to cut costs in some areas, and the Imani program is one of the programs that they have targeted as an area which they're not going to invest further in at all. So it's quite unfortunate. The program was painted, the budget presentation, as a program with falsehood and false hope. For what is what, I mean, I don't agree with that. I would never agree creating an opportunity for persons to find themselves, to find a way, to find a niche, to find what they want to do with their life as being a false hope. It's very unfortunate for persons who have to now contend with where you're going, and without that opportunity and having the luxury of the Imani program to help to guide you, with facilitators to help you. And so it's a big shot in the back of our young people who were the central focus in terms of creating opportunities as one of the promises from this government. So we'll see how that goes, but it's really unfortunate.
Yes, indeed. And Senator Cox, I want to offer you the opportunity to make your closing statements. We're into the final few minutes, but let me just also alert folks that there is a fake profile, a fake Facebook page going around in the name of Nolan Cox. Please be warned. There's a fake page. Senator Cox is not reaching out to persons via Messenger and offering any financial incentives and so on. If you see it,
and TikTok too as well. The message from TikTok too as well. Yeah, ignore that. Ignore those.
Please,
yes,
and also report them. Report the profiles as fake so that it can be taken down. But please just note that. Senator Cox, your closing statements.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, for being here, Sheldon, this evening. I mean, this evening was a kind of relaxing evening.
Yeah, man.
We were having a conversation. Yeah. And I'm happy for the opportunity for us to have a conversation about issues. I just want to close quickly. There's a matter in Pity Matnick, a gentleman who had a boat out in the water, I think it's a yacht, and it came ashore. He didn't receive any compensation or so, but I was told and he was informed that because I think the material that the yacht was built with, I think it's a concrete yacht, they are going to demolish it to move it because they cannot really lift it up. And so the owner feels aggrieved that he hasn't heard anything about compensation or no part thereof, but the boat is going to be demolished and removed, and so he's just feeling somewhat hopeless. So it's something that I just had to raise. I forgot. And also Mount Pleasant, the contractor was terminated. His contract was terminated, and Mount Pleasant primary school too as well. They are still waiting compensation. Just imagine you fire somebody and you can't pay them. I mean, it's just. You need to have people money ready when you're firing them, or soon after. So it's a very tenuous situation for the contractor, and he feels very much aggrieved. And I'm hoping I did call on the Minister of Education to intervene to find a way to have the matter resolved, to get infrastructure to settle the contractor's compensation and other persons. Some of the fishermen who are still outstanding, waiting for the income support and things like that. So we do hope that the government can find some redress for these matters moving forward.
Yes,
so I just wanted to raise that for what it's worth. Yeah.
All right.
And just to say, well, it's a pleasure to be on as always, and I think I need to come more often and for us to have more conversation.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and have some more conversation on this the issues affecting us during this period.
Of course. Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, we want to thank you once again for being here with us. And
well, before you close, I must say good night to the South as well.
Oh gosh. Yeah? And I get big stone and I go down the road.
Yeah, I must say good night.
South
side. I just want to announce just two activities. We have this Saturday we have a usual mountain breakfast fundraiser at the party office in Carriacou.
All right.
Persons can come out and enjoy a wonderful breakfast and to support our work, and we try to help other persons who in need right now in Carriacou. And also in the diaspora, on the 13th of April, we do have our branch out there, the Carriacou Pity Matnick support, NLP support group having their fundraiser out there as well. So just want to say big up to New York support group and things that they're doing, and we continue to work to keep our party at the front and focus in terms of getting things done for our people. So just want to close on that.
All right. Senator Cox, thank you so very much. I know I keep you much longer than you were supposed to, but we know you're a good sport. So thank you so very much, sir. And we will be in contact soon again.
Sure. All right.
Thank you so very
good
much.
Night. And take care. All the best.
Yes, indeed, folks. We were speaking there with Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, and we were having an extensive conversation, giving you an update on what is going on in Carriacou and Pity Matnick at this point in time, but also a little bit on some of the projects taking place here in Grenada. As we know, Senator Cox carried that portfolio before, so we wanted to give you a bit of information in relation to that. Folks, that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. It's been wonderful being here with you. In everything you say and do it safe and secure. Want to be speaking to and with you, and definitely not about you. We'll be back tomorrow night with more Talking Points for you. I am out.